Why Great Big Beautiful Life divided Emily Henry fans. An honest take. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm talking about Emily Henry's latest book, Great Big Beautiful Life. And I need to be honest with you right from the start. This one really divided people, including me. So let me start with full transparency. I went into this book expecting another Emily Henry rom-com. You know what I mean? Like witty banter, sunshine characters, maybe some emotional depth, guaranteed swoons, the kind of book that makes you smile and maybe cry a little, but in that good, cathartic way. What I got instead was, well, something completely different. And honestly, I'm still processing how I feel about it. This is not a romance novel, and that's the point. Let me save you some confusion right now. If you're picking up Great Big Beautiful Life because you loved beach read or book lovers or funny story, you need to recalibrate your expectations immediately. Yes, there's romance in this book. Yes, there's the signature Emily Henry charm and beautiful writing. But this is not a romance novel. This is a family saga. It's historical fiction. It's a meditation on grief and legacy and the stories we tell ourselves about our lives. Emily Henry has said in interviews that she wanted to write about other types of love besides romantic love. She wanted to explore familial love, the bond between sisters, the complicated relationship between mothers and daughters, the weight of family legacy. And she absolutely did that. But if you're coming for the romance, it's there, but it's almost like a side plot. And I think that's where a lot of the disappointment came from for some readers. The setup that completely hooked me. Okay, so here's the premise, and I have to say, it's brilliant. Alice Scott is this optimistic, bubbly journalist who writes celebrity fluff pieces. She's been dreaming of her big break, of writing something serious that will finally make her family, especially her mother, proud. Her late father was this huge romantic who loved rock and roll, especially this singer named Cosmo Sinclair. And Cosmo Sinclair was married to Margaret Ives, the tabloid princess, this elusive heiress who came from one of the most famous and scandalous families of the 20th century. Think Kennedys, think British royals, think media dynasties. Margaret has been a recluse for decades, living under a fake name on this tiny island in Georgia, completely hidden from the world. But now, Margaret is ready to tell her story. And Alice gets invited to interview her for a potential biography. The catch is, she's not the only one invited. Enter Hayden Anderson, this Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who's everything Alice isn't. He's aloof, he's cynical, he's intimidating. And he's also there to compete for the chance to write Margaret's book. Margaret gives them both a 1-month trial. She'll meet with each of them separately, up to 3 days a week, and at the end of the month, they'll pitch their ideas and she'll choose one person to write her biography. Oh, and they have to sign these ironclad NDAs. They cannot share what they learn from Margaret with each other. They're literally forbidden from comparing notes. I was immediately invested. The competition, the mystery of what Margaret is hiding, the grumpy sunshine dynamic between Alice and Hayden. Yes, all of that worked for me right from the start. Margaret's story, the real heart of the book. Here's what I wasn't prepared for. Margaret's story completely takes over the narrative. And honestly, I didn't mind that much, even though it surprised me. Emily Henry drew inspiration from real dynastic families. She's mentioned the Kennedys, the British royals, even Rebecca Harkness. You know the woman from Taylor Swift's song, The Last Great American Dynasty? And she uses Margaret's past to explore how trauma, love, grief, and scandal get passed down through generations. The structure is really clever. There are these chapters called The Story that are split into 2 parts. First, you get their version, meaning what the tabloids said, what the media reported. It's usually just a sentence or two. And then you get her version. Margaret's much longer, more detailed, more nuanced truth. It's this constant reminder that there are always multiple versions of every story. Yours, mine, and somewhere in the middle, the truth. And I love that. We read about the Ives family dynasty, starting with Margaret's great-grandfather, who founded this massive media empire. Then her grandfather, her parents, her mother was this pioneering female director, and eventually Margaret herself, and her beloved younger sister, Laura. Margaret's past is dramatic. A whirlwind romance with rock star Cosmo Sinclair, public scrutiny that literally cost lives, scandals and secrets she's been carrying for decades. And the whole time you're reading, you're trying to figure out what she's really hiding and why she chose these two specific journalists. You feel like a detective alongside Alice and Hayden. Every new piece of information makes you want to know more. It's part mystery, part character study, and it's genuinely compelling. The writing, because we need to talk about this. Look, Emily Henry can write, like really write. Her ability to turn words into something magical is unmatched in contemporary fiction right now. Margaret's story is filled with so much emotion. The way the media twisted her image, the scandals that shouldn't have been scandals, the grief and lost love, the strength it took to just survive when everyone was watching and judging, Henry captured all of that beautifully. I loved how the book didn't just make you experience the catharsis of learning what shaped Margaret, but also showed the cost of reinventing yourself over and over. The quiet strength a person needs to simply survive what others couldn't, all while being crushed by expectations and a legacy they might not even want. That was done wonderfully. Those sections really got to me. Alice and Hayden, the grumpy sunshine dynamic. So let's talk about our main characters in the present timeline. Alice is great. She's extremely positive and optimistic, though it is a bit of a mask she wears. But overall, she's genuinely a good person, and I loved her dedication to storytelling. She looks for connections in the stories she writes. She sees the good in people, and she's basically determined to be Hayden's friend from the moment they meet, whether he likes it or not. Hayden doesn't stand a chance against her, by the way, which is adorable. The banter between them is fantastic. There's this moment where Alice is convinced Hayden played basketball because he's so tall, and he keeps insisting he's 6'3", not 6'7", and she's like, that's like a basketball 5'8". I actually laughed out loud at that. Their chemistry is there. The witty exchanges, the dry humor, the way they slowly open up to each other, all of that works. But here's my issue. The romance feels rushed. It literally goes from strangers to awkwardness to making out. Then they fall in love seemingly overnight, but they can't actually be together until Margaret decides who won her story. So the pacing felt clunky, especially at the start. We'd go entire chapters with nothing in terms of relationship building, and then suddenly we'd get hit with a bunch of banter and tender moments all at once. It made their connection feel underdeveloped and a bit abrupt, at least for me. I get it. The book is really about Margaret. But if you're marketing this as an Emily Henry book, readers are coming for the romance. And while the emotional honesty is there, while the chemistry is there, it needed more page time, more development, more breathing room. Where it struggles for me. I need to be honest about the parts that didn't work as well. First, the pacing. There are two timelines, Margaret's past and Alice and Hayden's present, and I definitely had a favorite. And when you have a favorite timeline, it's frustrating when you have to leave it to go back to the other one. The sections about Margaret's great-grandfather and grandfather felt like they went on forever. I understand why they were there. We needed to understand the family legacy, but I just wanted to get back to Margaret's own story or to Alice and Hayden. Second, and this might be controversial, but Margaret herself didn't fully land for me. I kept comparing her to Evelyn Hugo from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and honestly, Margaret felt a little flat in comparison. Maybe that's unfair. They're different books, different stories. But if you're going for this big, epic, sprawling family saga, your central figure needs to absolutely captivate. And for me, Margaret was fine. I liked her. I enjoyed her banter with Alice. But I kept waiting for something more. Even when the big twists were revealed, I kind of just shrugged and thought, okay, that's it? I think the story spent too much time on her grandfather and her parents. We needed more from Margaret herself, more depth, bigger events, more complexity to really earn this spot as a grand, epic tale. The big twist. Spoiler warning, skip ahead if you haven't read it. Ready? Here we go. The biggest secret Margaret was hiding is about Hayden himself. Hayden Anderson is actually Margaret's grandson. Margaret had a secret daughter named Nicolette with Cosmo Sinclair. After Cosmo died in a car crash, an accident caused by paparazzi, while he was rushing Margaret to the hospital during a pregnancy scare, Margaret gave the baby up for adoption. She couldn't bear the thought of her daughter living under the same horrific public scrutiny that literally killed Cosmo. And the whole competition between Alice and Hayden, it was a setup. Margaret just wanted to spend time with her grandson without scaring him off. She needed Alice's bubbly personality and the entire elaborate scenario to keep Hayden engaged long enough to tell him the truth. That's actually kind of brilliant and heartbreaking. It completely reframes the entire book. This wasn't about choosing a biographer at all. It was about a grandmother trying to connect with family she gave up decades ago, family she's been thinking about her entire life. The ending ties everything together. Alice and Hayden fall back together, thank God, and they co-write Margaret's book, keeping some family secrets hidden. They end up having their own daughter and naming her Laura Grace, after Margaret's sister. The family line continues, but this time with choice and agency and love instead of just trauma. It's a beautiful ending, really. But here's my problem. It comes so late in the book. There's barely any page time left to process everything. I wanted to know how Hayden reacted when he found out. That was completely skipped over. I wanted to understand the timeline of the final chapter. It seemed to jump ahead months or even years from one paragraph to the next, and I was confused. I needed more. Give me Hayden processing this revelation. Give me the messy, complicated emotions. Don't just skip to the happy ending and expect me to fill in all the blanks myself. What I wish we'd gotten more of. I spent so much time with Alice and Hayden throughout the book. I knew they were perfect for each other. I knew they would end up together and be happy. So technically, I didn't need to see a lot of their happily ever after to know it was there. But I wanted to see it anyway. I wanted to wallow in that ending a little longer. Just a few more pages of them together, happy, figuring out their life. That's not too much to ask, right? Also, and I know this is a personal thing, but I'm getting a bit tired of the grumpy but has a heart of gold guy. Not that I want Hayden to be mean or cruel, but there has to be other ways to present a love interest. Maybe Alice could have been the Pulitzer Prize winner and Hayden the up-and-coming journalist. That would have been an interesting dynamic flip. Who this book is actually for. So after all of that, who should read this book? If you love character-driven stories with emotional depth and you're fine with romance taking a backseat, you'll probably love this. If you enjoyed The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and that sprawling, multi-generational storytelling style, this is absolutely for you. If you're looking for intricate prose, beautiful writing, and a story about family and legacy and grief, Emily Henry delivers that in spades. But if you want a typical Emily Henry rom-com, this might disappoint you. If you're coming for the romance and the swoony moments and the happily ever after, you'll get some of that, but not as much as you're probably expecting. The book has gotten really mixed reviews. Some critics loved it, calling it a stunner and praising the emotional depth. Others rated it pretty low, criticizing the pacing and saying Margaret's story wasn't interesting enough. Some loved the romance and called it a delightful slow burn. Others thought Alice was a weak protagonist. So, yeah, people are divided, and I get why. My honest bottom line: I admire Emily Henry for trying something different. I really do. But there's also a feeling that this book might have been rushed, that it could have used more time to develop. The epic family saga felt like it was missing pieces. The romance, especially at the start, felt a bit forced and disingenuous. But as the story went on, it found its footing. By the end, I was invested. Those last 30 pages, they wrecked me in the best way. The title makes perfect sense when you finish. Margaret's life wasn't always happy. It was often tragic. But it was still huge and complicated and beautiful. And that's a powerful message in a world that constantly tells us happiness is the only goal worth pursuing. Is this my favorite Emily Henry book? No. Beach Read still holds that spot for me. But did it make me think? Did it make me feel? Did it show me that Emily Henry is capable of more than what I expected from her? Absolutely. Sometimes an author needs to stretch beyond what they're known for. Sometimes a book is more about what it's reaching for than whether it perfectly sticks the landing. And this book is reaching for something bigger, messier, more ambitious than Emily Henry has done before. I respect that. I respect the hell out of that, even if I wished for a little more romance along the way. Look, at the end of the day, this is still Emily Henry. The writing is gorgeous, the characters are well drawn, there's humor and depth and genuine emotion. It's just different, and different isn't bad. It's just not what we expected. So go into it knowing what it is. This is a family saga with romance, not a romance with family drama. Adjust your expectations, and you might find yourself surprised by how much you enjoy it. For me, it's a solid B+, maybe an A-, depending on whether you value the romance or the family saga more. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you've read it and what you thought. Are you team, this is Emily Henry's best work, or team, give me back my rom-coms? I genuinely want to know. Happy reading, everyone!